Story 1, The Phantom Patient. In a small, aging hospital nestled deep within a quiet town, a peculiar occurrence sent shivers down the spines of those who worked there. Nurse Emily had been on the night shift for years, and she had grown accustomed to the eerie creaks and moans of the old building. But one night, something was different. As Emily made her rounds, she heard faint cries for help echoing from the deserted fourth floor. The fourth floor had been closed for renovations for months, and it was supposed to be completely empty. Emily's heart raced as she followed the sound down the long, dimly lit corridor. It led her to an old room, long abandoned, where the cries became desperate pleas for assistance. Emily pushed open the door, and her blood ran cold. There, on the ancient hospital bed, lay a ghostly figure, covered in a tattered hospital gown. The patient's eyes were hollow, and their voice was weak, yet their words were chilling. "I need your help. Please, don't leave me here," the figure begged. Emily rushed to get help, but when she returned with a team of nurses and doctors, the room was empty, save for the ruffled sheets on the bed. No one could explain who the phantom patient was or how they had ended up in that abandoned room. Story 2, The Haunted Operating Room. In a state-of-the-art hospital, Dr. Anderson was renowned for his surgical expertise. Patients came from all over the country to seek his life-saving skills. But there was one operating room that Dr. Anderson avoided at all costs. Operating Room 13 had a dark reputation. Staff members whispered about strange occurrences during surgeries conducted there. Lights flickered, equipment malfunctioned, and the temperature dropped drastically, even in the middle of summer. The eerie feeling of being watched overwhelmed anyone who stepped into the room. One fateful night, Dr. Anderson was forced to use OR 13 due to an emergency. As he began the surgery, a bone-chilling whisper echoed through the room. He glanced around, but there was no one there. The operating lights swung erratically, casting eerie shadows that danced on the walls. Ignoring his fear, Dr. Anderson continued the surgery, but he couldn't shake the feeling of an icy hand on his shoulder. When he finally completed the procedure, he rushed out of the room, vowing never to enter OR 13 again. To this day, no one dares to use that operating room, for fear of what might lurk within. Story 3, The Cursed Ward. St. Mary's Hospital had a ward that was infamous among the staff. Ward C7 was said to be cursed, and it was known for its high mortality rate. Patients who were admitted there rarely left alive, and those who did often had harrowing tales to tell. Nurse Sarah was assigned to Ward C7 one fateful night. As she made her rounds, she noticed a patient, Mrs. Harris, who was sitting up in her bed, her eyes filled with terror. Mrs. Harris claimed that a shadowy figure had visited her room and whispered ominous warnings in her ear. Sarah dismissed it as delirium, but as the night wore on, she began to hear faint whispers herself. The voices grew louder and more menacing, and a chilling presence filled the ward. Panic set in among the patients, and some began to scream. Terrified, Sarah called for help, and a team of doctors and nurses rushed to the ward. But when they arrived, they found the patients in a state of hysteria, and the room plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered to life, revealing the words "Leave now" scrawled in blood on the walls. The hospital administration eventually closed Ward C7, and it remained locked and abandoned, a place of dread and despair. These disturbing true hospital horror stories serve as a reminder that sometimes, the most terrifying experiences can happen in the most unlikely of places. The world of medicine may bring healing, but it also holds its share of dark secrets and unexplained mysteries.